Hey wonderful people, it's me Angie. I hope you're having an amazing day wherever you are. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is all about situational judgment. I did my UCAT a couple days ago and I got band 1, which is the best you can get in that exam. If you want to learn more about how the exam works, this is not the video. This is just how you can do really well in SJT. So it's going to be in two parts. The first part, I'm going to tell you how you can increase your situational judgment, your medical common sense. And in the second half, I'm going to tell you the themes that are very, very important because I did every situational judgment question I could get my hands on, everyone in Medify, everything, and the actual exam was so random and completely different. So if you understand the principles and the things that underpin SJT, you will do a lot better. The first tip is not for everyone. So if you have a health professional in your family, don't feel guilty. Go and ask them to spend an hour or two with you, sit down and go through SJT. After a while, you will see their thinking pattern and where they're coming from, and that will be really useful to help you. The next thing is consider watching medical dramas, in particular Chicago Med. That's the best one in my opinion. It's quite accurate when it comes to ethical situations, and I know with my group of friends we'll watch them and then compare it to the 4 pillars of medicine. The next thing you need to do, this is the most important thing for SJT, for anyone applying to study medicine, period. In the UK we have the GMC, which are like the police or like regulators of medicine, and they have 2 documents that I want you to read. The first one is Good Medical Practice. This is basically how to be a good doctor, the legalities, what you can do, what you can't do. You need to read this. If you don't read this, I don't know what you're doing. The next thing is that they have a document tailored specifically to med school students. If you are doing the UCAT exam and you hear them say what? Say med school student, that's a red flag. Dental school student, that's a red flag. You can't do anything. You are encouraged to interact with patients, but at the end of the day, you can't walk them through any processes, you can't break down their x-ray, you can't do anything, so make sure you keep that in mind. The next thing is a book. It is called A Very Short Introduction to Medical Ethics. If I find it, I'll put it on screen. I can't lie, I only read the relevant parts to me, but that's for just a general understanding of medical ethics before you have your interview, before you go to med school in general. And chapter 4 or 5 is on syllogisms, which is essentially the yes/no boxes in decision making. Let's go into the key themes. The first key theme is patient confidentiality, the most popular one, the most obvious one. If someone is taking pictures,
cut the cameras. Dead ass.
If somebody is sharing it to a private group chat, I don't care, it's still a no-no. That is very, very important. I need you to embed that in your head. There is never any reason for you to share any details about the patient or anything like that. You can always say focus on the condition, not the actual patient, but you need to diffuse that straight away. The next thing is perspective, public view. This is in 2 separate categories: the public view of the medical profession and the public view of your med school. They're kind of intertwined in some ways, but just to give you an example, if it's a question about your med school, then someone is drunk, rowdy, wearing their hoodie, what are you going to do? If it's more the public perspective of medicine as a whole, this is probably going to be a racist doctor who's made inflammatory comments online about a particular ethnic group, and now you're getting complaints that they are neglecting their patients of that ethnic group. What are you going to do about it? And also apologizing on behalf of other people. You're undermining the doctor. Where do you go with that? The next theme that is very, very important, arguably the most important one, is patient safety and well-being. This is always going to be your first concern. They will intentionally try to prey on your humanity. Oh, you've cancelled your date with your boyfriend 7 times. It's your grandma's 70th birthday. You haven't seen your parents all time. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Of course, there will be some questions where they do want you to discuss work-life balance, but at the end of the day, so long as your patient is safe, that's all you care about. You're going to do the blood test, you're going to do this, do that. Patient safety is everything. The next important theme is relationships. So this is going to be broken down into 3 categories: your relationships with your peers, your relationships with your seniors, and your relationships with your patients. When we're talking about your peers, it will probably be something that is important or of minor importance depending on the context. If it's asking you about cheating, for example, I don't care how long you've been friends for, but it's a group project and you still have to work on it, then your relationship with your peers is of more importance. When it comes to your seniors, it's very, very rarely important. Very, very rarely. I don't care if they're writing you a report, giving you a review. It doesn't matter. It's typically going to be a drunk doctor, they smell of alcohol, they can't do their shoelaces, you can see an empty bottle of alcohol poking out in the... No, it doesn't matter. Patient safety is more important. The third type of relationship is a relationship with your patients. This will come up when it comes to bribery. Typically, it's going to be an elderly patient and she feels you've looked after her better than her own sons. She wants to give you her will. She wants to give you a nice watch, some diamond earrings, something like that. For reference, most hospitals and GP practices will have a rule on how much you can take from a patient. It will probably be about £20–25 worth, depending on whether it's just for you or for everyone else, but this means chocolate, cake, cards, flowers, that kind of thing, not an iPad or a Gucci belt, because that's bribery and you can't do that. Your patient relationship is important because you don't want to make them feel undermined or disrespected, so you need to be polite when you're turning them down. The same goes if your patient is trying to buy you a drink. You can't date your patients. I don't care if you've only seen them once. They will once again prey on your humanity. It's a no-go. The next thing is they want you to snitch. The category is rules and laws. When I say rules and laws, that's just whether it's in a hospital or in your med school. So when it comes to rules, no cheating policy. When it comes to laws or regulations, you cannot steal drugs from the hospital. You cannot take your patient notes home. It doesn't matter. You have to shut it down. These are quite harsh and they want you to say, no, you can't do that. It doesn't matter how long you've known the person. You need to make sure you shut that down. The next thing is a newer category. I remember I did all of the SJT questions on Medified and I was like, oh, they've put a couple of new questions. And this is on your certainty. They will say you're unsure if patient confidentiality is actually being breached. You're unsure about anything else. This is actually very important. I thought it would not be important at all. But don't ever consider this in any other situation when it comes to confidentiality. If a doctor is taking a picture of something, for example, hypothetically, it could be for a secure app and it's going to a different doctor downstairs in the X-ray department. Don't ever consider this in anywhere else, but if you're not sure, you need to go and find clarity. That the theory behind all of this, the principle is that they don't want you to be a practitioner who works on an impulse. You don't want to escalate anything more than it needs to be done. Now let's talk about laziness. Laziness is the name of this theme, and essentially it means pushing work onto someone else. You are upset because handover is going to be a bit later, XYZ. You want to go home, but you need to do blood tests. Someone else could realistically do the blood test. It's not even that busy. You need to do the blood test. It's your own individual responsibility. A great one I had just before I did my exam was a dentistry one. There's a patient, everyone knows they're really, really smelly, and the next free dentist is meant to see them, and you could be free now, or you could go to the break room, or go to the toilet, or just relax, message someone. You don't want to avoid that patient just because they smell bad. You have to do it. So laziness is a very big thing, and I'm pretty sure the GMC Good Medical Practice make it sound nicer. They use more put together words, but essentially you have to take responsibility for things. With that said, that is everything on SJT and what I kept in mind, things I did to help me getting band 1. If you have any questions or any tips of your own, comment them down below to let us all know. So as always, give this video a big thumbs up and definitely share it if you feel like it can help someone else. SJT isn't easy, especially if you haven't done any time in a hospital. It used to be done at the end of med school, so you understand there's no context for you. If you are looking into getting medical work experience, click above my head for my video on how to get work experience in a hospital. I'm kind of collecting them like infinity stones at this point, I can't lie. But yeah, as always, smile, subscribe, study hard, slay hard, and I will see you wonderful people again very, very soon. Bye!